What's up everyone? In today's video I'm going to be talking about the 5 states that you should travel to on your USA road trip. Watch to the end to see what my number 1 pick was out of all the 29 states that I traveled to. Go watch all the videos that we made during this trip in this playlist here. Anyway, let's get on with it. I'm going to start off. Number 5 is Oregon. Oregon gets a bit of a bad rep in terms of its friendliness. Apparently the people there aren't really that nice or aren't as welcoming. I don't really have any experiences myself, but that was probably because I was so distracted about how beautiful and green the state is. There are so many different locations that you can find while driving through the state, as it's just kind of one of those states where you can just sit in your car and admire the views and like I said, the greenness of the whole state. That was one thing that stood out to us, was how many trees, and then you had the water on the Pacific Coast highways and all the little beach towns that we stopped in. That was another thing as well, just stopping and admiring and finding new places, like is how we found one of our favorite places along the trip, which was the rock pools. This is sick! Another thing I loved about Oregon was the weather. The misty weather of it all was really comfortable almost. It's very welcoming. You kind of just want to stay in the car, listen to the music, and like I said, do that drive. The weather just complements it, I think. I don't think Oregon gets enough credit for what it really is. It's definitely a state that I would really recommend that a lot of people travel to. My number 4 pick is Arizona. Arizona is so diverse. There's so many different things you can do there. They've got lakes we went to, National Park, Grand Canyon. We had an early morning hike there. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was really fun. With nice places, I think comes nice people. It really rubs off, and when you're there, you just feel happier. The reason why it's number 4 on my list is because Arizona is hot and it can almost be quite dangerous. When we were there, it got up to 45 degrees. We were planning on camping that night, but we had to stay in a hotel because we would not be able to survive in a tent. Besides the heat, we had to get up early for our hikes, enjoy the sunrise, enjoy the friendliness of the people. It's a state that people should go to more as well, and should talk about it more because of all the amazing things it has to offer. This might come to a lot of people as a shock, but my number 3 choice is California. Shock, that means it may deserve to be higher. The cities, San Francisco, LA, San Diego, all the national parks it has as well. The reason why it's a bit low on my list, and it could be higher, is it's so busy. And the reason why it's so busy is because it's so amazing. So this is not a place that you want to skip. And also, it being busy causes it to be expensive. So you're going to have to break a few piggy banks before you head into the west coast of the country. Now, there's no secret that California is expensive. And it's expensive for your accommodation, for your gas, and your food. And it does add up quite a bit. And it's totally worth it for all the national parks, like I mentioned. Before I get into my second choice, I want to just bring up some honorable mentions of states that you should still go to. They just didn't make this list. For example, South Dakota, I loved it there. The people there are so friendly. So many cool things to see, like the Spearfish Canyon place we went, with the waterfalls and the nice hikes there. Idaho, you saw in my videos, we got to go fishing in the mountains as well as riding through the snowy mountains in these cart thingies. New Mexico has the White Sand National Park, which was also another one of my favorite national parks that we went to. And of course, you cannot do a road trip of the USA without stopping up in Wyoming to see Yellowstone National Park. So let's get back to the list. Number 2, Colorado. Was so close to being my number 1 choice. Every single inch of the state is just stunning. When we were driving along, I could not draw my eyes away from the windows. I could just spend all day driving around the state and just watching and admiring how beautiful the state is. One of the reasons why I love Colorado is the people there. They're so friendly, and you meet them all when you're on your hikes or just walking through town. Everyone's so friendly and talkative and wanting to help you and wanting to become your friend. And you'll meet all these people along the way because everyone's so outdoorsy. Everything is outdoors. Everyone's in hiking gear and everyone wants to travel, and it's quite a nice environment to be in. But like I said, my favorite part about Colorado was just driving around, being in the car, and having all the different weather that we experienced while we were there, like the heavy rain, thunderstorms, and then the snow and the mistiness of it all was really cozy. And I think that's why Emily and I liked it. Another thing about Colorado is the wildlife it has, like elk, deer, moose. We went to try and find some moose, but we couldn't in the end. There are so many different animals that you can find, and they'll mainly be in the Rocky Mountain National Park. One thing I couldn't get over while I was in Colorado was the fact that it was snowing in May. You can watch that video. Our reaction to that is kind of funny, as we'd never experienced anything like that being from the city. I mean, that is fucking amazing. Before I get into number one, I have to ask you a big favor so my boss doesn't fire me. If you could just like this video, if this video brought you value at all, or you just enjoyed it, that would be much appreciated. Also, if you want to see more travel content weekly, you can subscribe and then let me know when you've done so in the comments below. My number one pick for best state that I would recommend for you to travel to on your USA road trip is Utah. Utah is one of the most unique states that we went to out of the 29. The difference between different national parks like Zion and Arches being my favorite. We did the Delicate Arch hike. We got up really early and watched the sunrise. That is something I would recommend when you go to Utah, is the early morning hikes for the Delicate Arch. The scenic drives as well, just like in Zion, just driving through. If you do go to Zion, I recommend doing a lot more research before, because some of the hikes can be quite difficult to manage. The national parks are the main reason that it fits in number one for me. During this trip, I mentioned in my last video that the national parks was one of the main things about our road trip. Having two of my favorite national parks in Utah, that is probably one of the reasons I put it as number one. I feel as if when I was in Utah, that was when I was at my happiest along the whole trip. I did so many new things, I did things I enjoyed, I tried food that I liked, and I just enjoyed every second that I spent in Utah. Like I said before, subscribe if you want to see more weekly content about traveling, and when you've done that, just let me know by commenting below. If you want to watch my whole entire road trip of the USA, you can click the playlist here and go watch the other videos, because they're good like this one.